Okay, so we're going to be talking about Fawn, the identity of the one who keeps the peace. Have you ever agreed to something while a quiet part of you was saying no? You smiled, you reassured the other person and said, "Of course, it's completely fine." But later you felt exhausted, frustrated, maybe even resentful. You may have called yourself too nice or bad at boundaries, but sometimes keeping the peace is more than a personality trait. It's a protective pattern that taught you it was safer to manage someone else's reaction than to express what you really needed. Hi there, I'm Lisa Adams. I'm a trauma informed life and behavioral coach, the founder of The Regulated Leader. And in the last episode, we explored freeze, the protective pattern that can leave you feeling foggy, heavy, disconnected, or unable to begin. And today we're exploring fawn, or what I like to call the identity of who keeps the peace. We'll look at fawn looks like, how it feels in the body, and how it might be protecting you, and how to practice a small, low stakes no. Fawn is a protective response that tries to create safety through connection, agreement, or approval. And when your body senses tension or the possibility of rejection, you may focus on making other person feel more comfortable. You agree, you apologize, you soften your opinion, you anticipate what other person needs and become that version of yourself. The unspoken message is often, if you're okay with me, then I'm safe. And that pattern isn't proof that you are weak. It may be something you've learned with a disagreement, disappointment, or another person's emotion that didn't feel safe to hold. And being kind, supportive, and considerate does not automatically mean you are fawning. Genuine kindness includes choice. You can help because you want to, not because you're afraid of what will happen if you don't. Kindness allows you to care about someone else without abandoning yourself, and fawning often feels more urgent. You say yes before checking in what you need. You agree because tension feels unbearable. You help because disappointing the other person feels more dangerous than exhausting yourself. The difference isn't always the behavior. The difference is whether you feel free to choose it. And fawn can look like people pleasing. It can look like automatically agreeing with the strongest opinion in the room. You may laugh when someone else makes you uncomfortable. Say, "Oh, it's fine," when it isn't. Often help others before anyone asks. Change your plans to prevent someone else from being disappointed. Or take responsibility for feelings and outcomes that don't belong to you. From the outside, you may appear easygoing, generous, incredibly accommodating, and inside, you may be working constantly to make sure nobody has a reason to be upset with you. Fawn can make your opinions difficult to access around other people. Alone, you may know what you think, but when someone expresses a different opinion, you certainly disappear. You begin adjusting your words, softening your position. You search their face for signs of approval. You may even adopt their answer without consciously deciding to. And then later, when you're alone again, your original opinion returns. And this can leave you wondering, why can't I be myself around certain people? Your identity hasn't disappeared. Your attention may have shifted from being expressing yourself to protecting your relationship. And fawn can also sound like apologizing before you have even done anything wrong. "Oh, sorry to bother you. Sorry if this doesn't make sense. Sorry, but could I ask a question? I'm sorry, I know that you're busy." That apology attempts to reduce the possibility that your presence, your needs, or your words will upset somebody. It can become a way of asking, "Are we still okay?" And sometimes an apology is actually appropriate, but you don't need to apologize simply for speaking, asking, needing, or taking up space. Fawn can feel different from the more obvious tensions of fight, flight. You may feel a sudden warmth in your face or your chest. A smile may appear automatically, even when you're uncomfortable. Your voice may become lighter, softer, or more reassuring. You might lean towards the other person, nod quickly, or laugh nervously. Your stomach might tighten, your mouth might say yes. You may also feel an intense need to repair any sign of tension immediately. The response can feel warm and friendly on the surface while masking your discomfort underneath. And fawn can create confusing combination of warmth and resentment. And in the moment, you appear agreeable, but later you feel frustrated that they asked. You might think, why does everyone expect so much from me? Why am I always the one who has to help? Why doesn't anyone consider what I need? And sometimes people are genuinely asking too much, but sometimes they don't realize that you're saying yes while you're meaning no. And if your boundary stays inside your head, the other person may never, ever know that it actually exists. And when fawn becomes automatic, you may not consciously decide to ignore your no. You may not hear it until much later. Someone asks you for something and you say yes, comes out automatically, and then hours later, your body responds with exhaustion, irritation, dread, or maybe the sense and urge to cancel. That delays resentment, maybe your no, finally being loud enough that you can hear it. And before trying to communicate every boundary perfectly, you may need to practice locating the boundary inside you and ask, if I knew the other person wouldn't be disappointed, what would my answer be? Fawn may be protecting you from conflict, criticism, anger, rejection, and abandonment. It may have developed in environments where reading the room actually help you to avoid trouble. You learn to notice changes in someone's voice, their facial expression, or their mood. You adapted quickly. You became helpful, agreeable, quiet, maybe even easy to manage. And those skills may have helped you maintain important relationships. But as an adult, the same pattern can make every disappointed reaction feel like the proof that you have done something wrong. And instead of asking, why am I such a people pleaser? Try asking, what do I believe might happen if I say no? And a boundary can look simple on paper. Say no. Ask for what you need. Stop over explaining. But if the agreement has been one of your main ways of creating safety, a boundary can feel like a threat to connection. Your mind may understand that you're allowed to say no. Your body may still respond with guilt, anxiety, warmth, shaking, even the urge to take back that boundary that you've tried to set. That discomfort doesn't automatically mean that the boundary was wrong. It may mean that the boundary is unfamiliar. And a boundary is not the way to force someone else to behave the way that you want. It communicates what you are available for and what you are not available for, and what you will do to care for your own limits. The other person is allowed to have a reaction. They may feel disappointed. They may ask a question. They may need to adjust their plans. Your responsibility is to communicate clearly and respectfully. It is not your responsibility to make sure that person or nobody ever feels uncomfortable with your answer. You don't have to begin by setting the most difficult boundaries in your life. Today's tool is a boundary testing script. You're going to practice saying it a small, low stake no out loud. This isn't about confronting anyone immediately. It is about allowing your body to hear your voice express a limit. The first time you say the words can be an empty room in front of a mirror or with somebody that you trust. We are building familiarity before asking for bravery in a high pressure moment. So we're going to begin with the sentence, no, I'm not available for that. Say it out loud. No, I am not available for that. Notice what happened in your body. Did you smile? Did you hold your breath? Feel guilty? Want to add a long explanation? You don't need to remove the reaction. Simply notice that you can feel discomfort and still allow the sentence to end. And if a direct no feels too far outside your current capacity, then you can try, thank you for asking, but I can't commit to that. Or maybe that doesn't work for me. Or I'm not able to help with that at this time. Or it might be, let me check my capacity before I answer. That final sentence, especially helpful if it's normal for you to say yes before you know what you want. A pause is not rude. It gives you time to find your actual answer. Now, practice saying the boundary without building a case. I am not able to do that this week. And then pause. Notice the urge to add because I have an appointment. And then I promised someone else. And I really tried. And I hope you aren't upset. You can provide context when it's helpful, but you don't need enough evidence to earn the right to have a limit. A complete sentence could be, I'm not able to do it this week. So imagine someone asks you to attend an event this weekend. Your schedule is full and you need some time to recover. Your automatic response is, yeah, I'll make it work. And instead, pause and say, you know what? Let me check my capacity and I'll get back to you. And when you're alone, ask, if they weren't disappointed, what would my answer be? And if the answer is no, practice saying, thank you so much for inviting me, but I'm not available this weekend. The other person might be disappointed, but their disappointment does not automatically mean that you've harmed them. And it's also important to recognize that not every situation is equally safe. If saying no could put you in physical safety, housing, employment, finances, essential support at risk, there may require more planning than a simple boundary script. And in those situations, consider seeking support from a trusted person or a qualified professional who understands the circumstances. This practice is low stakes situation, whereas a no is reasonably safe, but emotionally uncomfortable. And regulation is not about ignoring real risk. It's about learning to tell the difference between genuine danger and the discomfort of doing something new. This week's practice, one small no. It could be declining an optional invitation, refusing a task that you don't have the capacity for, asking for time before answering, or choosing not to explain a simple preference. And before saying it to anyone else, practice the sentence out loud. No, I'm not available for that. Then notice what happens in your body. The goal is to feel completely comfortable. Your goal is to show yourself the discomfort doesn't have to make the decision for you. Now, in the next episode, we're going to explore what happens when these patterns overlap. You may fight at work, freeze in conflict, stay busy when you're uncertain, and fawn around specific people. That doesn't mean that you're inconsistent. It means different situations bring forward different forms of protection. And we'll explore how to recognize which pattern is leading before it becomes the entire response. So before we go, tell me in the comments, where is your no hardest defined? Is it with family, clients, friends, colleagues, authority figures? You never need to share the full situation. One word is enough. Subscribe and turn on your notifications so you won't miss the next episode of Who You Are Under Pressure. And if you're ready to explore these patterns with support, you can join us inside the Regulated Leader. The link will be in the description. And remember, keep the peace should not require you to disappear from your relationship. And no does not make you unkind. It makes the room for your needs to exist alongside everyone else's.